This is season 5, episode 1 of Two Guys on Politics, which is broadcast on the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK AM 690 radio, as well as on YouTube at the web URL, twoguysonpolitics.com. That's where you can visit and listen to all of our podcasts. I'm Ray Hanania, and my co-host is former Congressman Bill Lipinski. In today's podcast, we have only one topic, the Trump, and there's going to be debate about this word, I don't know, invasion or whatever he did in Venezuela. So we're going to talk about how we define those.
I won't say anything. Keep going.
All right. Well, listen, that's okay. It just shows you how energetic we are, Bill, about this whole thing. Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break. When we come back, absolutely. we can duke it out. We'll be right back right after these messages.
When the aroma of Mahmoud Saleh Basmati fills the air, you know it's going to be a good meal. Extra long pearly white grains that cook up fluffy, separate, and light. Never heavy, never sticky, just pure, fragrant perfection. It's the rice that feels as good as it tastes, gentle on the stomach and full of energy. Elevate your everyday. Ask for Mahmoud Basmati at your supermarket and taste the difference. Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.
Arab Center Washington, D.C. was established in 2015 to serve as a Washington-based authoritative research center on the Arab world and U.S. policies in the region. My name is Khalil Jahshan, and I'm the Executive Director of Arab Center, Washington, D.C.
I am Tamara Kharoub. I'm the Deputy Executive Director and Senior Fellow here. Our mission at Arab Center, Washington, D.C. has been to provide Arab perspectives to U.S. policy conversations and to highlight rights-centered approaches to policymaking as a way to serve the causes of human rights, democracy, just and peaceful resolution to conflict, and constructive long-term U.S. interest in the region.
Our work also addresses fundamental aspects of U.S.-Arab relations through timely and objective academic research, policy analysis, and educational exchange, reaching millions of people here in the United States and around the world.
Since our inception, we invested in producing reliable, evidence-based, and inclusive analysis on important issues shaping the Middle East and North Africa.
We would like to invite you personally to check out our publications and events at arabcenterdc.org.
And please follow our social media platforms for timely responses to news, events, and current affairs.
arabcenterdc.org.
I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski, and this is Two Guys on Politics. And next is my very good friend, Ray Hanania.
And Bill, what a really interesting 2 days or weekend, I guess. Things, we haven't finished with Epstein. We haven't finished with all kinds of issues. And we're already into something else that eclipses everything. Nothing else is on the agenda. Everything is about Venezuela. And look, if you want to start, Bill, I mean, I know we have a little disagreement about what's going on here, but go ahead, tell us, how do you view what the president has done with Venezuela?
Well, I think that he's done the right thing. We were dealing with a person who was not elected president of Venezuela. Everybody, 50 countries in the world say he was not elected, that he really wasn't the president of Venezuela. He is an individual who has aided the Cubans, the Iranians, the Russians, the Chinese against us in many, many different ways. He has also not had a democracy in his country. We gave him numerous opportunities to straighten out. He refused to do so. So we went in and we took him out. Remember, Ray, he is a indicted individual by the courts of the United States. And these were courts that primarily operated the time when Joe Biden was president of the United States. The Biden administration put a $50 million bounty on this guy's head to bring him to justice in the United States. So I don't see how people can complain about what has happened. Now, what may have happened in the future, that's a different story. But right now, what has happened, I'm very completely supportive, and I'm ready to hear why we shouldn't have done it from you. Hopefully, I will have intelligent answers for you.
You will, Bill, I'm sure. Listen, we're both reasoned people. My concern is about the rule of law. I don't believe that what Trump did or Marco Rubio did even comes close to following the rule of law. They never engaged with Congress. They never talked about Congress. They say that it wasn't a military invasion. This was just a criminal act, and therefore they didn't have to go to Congress. But I don't know. I saw all kinds of battleships and missiles and airplanes and 200 soldiers putting their feet down in uniform, carrying American weapons, landing in Caracas to grab the president of Venezuela. And, you know, what's interesting about this whole thing, before we even get into this deep dive about all the problems, is that Trump basically is arguing he's a bad guy and we should take out a bad guy. My neighbor might be a bad guy. And I don't know, if I use Trump's logic, I should just go and take out my neighbor because maybe he does things that I don't like. Why should I go to the police? Why should I go and follow the rule of law? Why don't I just do it? Because I happen to have a bigger property. I have more money. I have more influence. I have more friends in politics. I can just do that. I think that's what this is about with Trump. I also think the other thing about this, and I'm talking in a very general way right now. Trump said that he was not about going into foreign countries, and he's been saying this over and taking over. What he is about is making America first. He said everything we're going to do is about America first. And ever since he's been in office, he's done the exact opposite. Nothing is about America first. It's about Trump first. And I believe that's what Venezuela is all about. This is a distraction. He wants to take the focus off of the Epstein files. He wants to take the focus off of other controversies that are on him. And the best way to do that is create this conflict that's going to pit reasoned people like you and me over an issue that I don't know why we're even discussing it.
Well, let me first of all say that you have read the Democratic Party's talking points extremely well, and you just presented them to me. Now, let's go back to Joe Biden.
I'm sorry, I'm drinking my $2.79 bottle of pop that used to only cost me $1.10. Go ahead, Bill.
That's a further distraction. You want to talk about the economy in this country. The economy in this country is not the best in the world, but it has nothing to do with this situation. We have to focus on this situation in Caracas, Venezuela, okay? This man was... Well,
why? I mean, why? No, go ahead, but I mean, why?
Why? Yeah, go ahead. Why? Now, this man was indicted, okay, by a United States court on 5 different charges, allowing known criminals to come into this country to disrupt what was going on in our country, our land of the free and home of the brave, okay? He's a man that facilitated drugs being shipped into this country, okay? He has had as his security guards Cubans, an enemy of the United States since going back to the 1960s when John Fitzgerald Kennedy was president of the United States. He just met the other day with a Chinese delegation, hoping to hook up with them, the worst possible adversaries that we have. A week ago, he met with a Russian individual. He was trying to make an alliance with all these people,
Right.
Hezbollah, against the United States of America. He's an indicted criminal. He's trying to put together an alliance against everyone in the United States. We had every right in the world to go in and take him out and bring him back to the United States to stand trial. We have no boots on the ground at the present time. This was a surgical strike. We went in, we took him out, and we left. Now, if his country doesn't straighten out, and I don't know if they are or not, we may have to go back there and straighten out a few other people, because what we want is a country that is good for the people in Caracas and the rest of the country. And I say Caracas because that's the capital, and an awful lot of people live in that particular area. What is good for them, what is good for the rest of the people in Central and South America, and for the United States of America. That's what we have to focus on. I don't want to hear about the U.S. economy. I don't want to hear about Epstein. That stuff is irrelevant and immaterial today. We're focusing here on why we had to go in and take this criminal out.
So my response to that is the indictments are a lie. The first two, that he has nothing to do with drugs, that he is not sending people into the United States. Those are lies that are made up by the Trump administration, that in fact, that Venezuela is the least engaged in drugs and trafficking of drugs into the United States, that there are far bigger criminals that are engaged in bringing drugs into the United States. And I'm wondering, I think every American has the right to ask this question. Why did we pick Venezuela over Mexico, the largest trafficker of cocaine, fentanyl? There's no fentanyl coming from Venezuela. Trump said that, but that's a lie. This guy is allowed to lie because he is the, quote, president of the United States. I don't think so. I think we have... Now, Maduro is not a nice guy. I don't like him. But I'm not sure that breaking the law is the way to deal with people that are not nice guys. I think there was other ways to do it, but Trump doesn't want to do that. Trump wants to break the law. Trump wants to lie. The only thing that you're right about is, yeah, this guy is a bad guy. He meets with people that we don't like. Just the way Trump met with the president of North Korea, just the way Trump met with the president of China, just the way Trump met with and is having this cozy relationship with the dictator of Russia. I think there are Americans out there that are wondering, what the heck is this guy doing? And are these real issues? And I think that's where the Trump administration doesn't want to focus.
Well, if you want to talk about things that Trump has done that you don't like and I don't like, I would be happy to do that with you on another program. But this program is supposed to be about Venezuela. And
that's something that that I don't like and that you like. I mean, that is one of our issues.
Now, I don't know what you're talking about, that some of the charges were trumped up. He was indicted. He was indicted by primarily prosecutors underneath the Joe Biden administration, an administration that put a $50 million price tag on his head for anyone that would capture him and bring him to the United States. Okay.
Yes. And I think that's a lie. I think that those charges are a lie. I don't believe them. I think that they were political when Biden did them. And I think that they were political when Trump did them. The difference was Biden didn't invade Venezuela.
Trump did. Trump
did invade Venezuela.
No, he did not. All he did was go in and take a criminal who has been indicted by the American people and bring him to the United States for trial. His vice president, who actually was never elected also. You have to remember that, Ray. 50 countries around the world have said that this man is not president. So if he's not president, the vice president isn't legal either. But we're letting her stay there to see if she can clean things up.
50
before we
countries
have to
out of
move in.
193. 50 countries out of 193. I know it's our buddies and pals, Trump's
Well, I think
friends,
that's a pretty good
that believes
amount.
that. Yeah, no, that pretty
I mean,
good
certainly,
doesn't.
you know, I'm sure that didn't do it, or China didn't do it, or
I'm
Iran
sure.
didn't do it, or Cuba didn't do it. Well, if you want to be associated with those countries, okay. I would rather be associated with the European Union,
Yeah,
England,
but you're
France,
not.
Germany.
Trump is being associated with the Soviet Union. Trump is cozying up to Putin. So we can't pretend like he's
He's
doing the
trying
right thing here, but not doing the right thing
he's
there with
trying to
the
bring
same
peace
people.
to the Ukraine. That's what he's trying to do by
No,
cozying
he's
up.
not. I don't believe that either.
Well,
I absolutely
distractions.
don't
Go
believe it.
ahead. I
No,
just
no.
listened. I just listened to 3 different TV programs on Sunday morning, and truthfully, all the Democrats who were on, they didn't talk about what happened with going down there and getting this criminal out and bringing him back to the United States. They talked about the economy. They talked about other mistakes that you and I and they agree with Trump has made. That's the version. I don't want to hear about the version. If you got a complaint about what he has done in this particular situation, you tell me. Now you're telling me you don't believe the indictments were true. You
That
don't
he
believe
violated the law. Yes.
Right. But you do admit he was a bad man.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
There are a lot of bad people in this world. Is he the most important bad man against the United States? No, I don't believe that.
Is he the most important bad man against the United States in the Western Hemisphere?
No, not at all. I think
who's worse?
I think Mexico, I think Colombia, Bolivia, and I think the Chinese, who are bringing drugs into the Western Hemisphere, are the real threat to us. Venezuela is not
are you
bringing
advocating that we
drugs.
go against the Chinese immediately?
No, I'm not advocating that we just launch an invasion the way we did in Venezuela. I think we go through the rule of law because we're a law-abiding country. We're supposed to be a law-abiding
We
country.
indicted him, Ray. We indicted him on at least 5 different counts.
4 years ago. You're right. 4 years
and
ago.
our police people went and apprehended this guy. It was backed up by the U.S. military. But once we got that job over with, we left. We don't have any boots on the ground.
And if you were in Congress, wouldn't you be upset that as one of the, what do they call them? The 8, leaders of Congress were not consulted. Some of them were, the Republican ones were.
I don't know. Are you sure about that? I'm not so sure any of them were consulted. No, I don't like that idea.
I think Mike Johnson was, but I mean, should he have gone through a different route? See, I'm not against going after Venezuela. What I am against is what he's doing, because I don't believe it's about drugs. I believe it's about oil. He spent half his press conference announcing the invasion talking about Venezuelan oil and the oil companies, bringing them back to Venezuela to take back their oil fields. And I'm wondering, what are we talking about here?
Well, you know as well as I do that it was the Americans that went in there, American oil companies. They drilled for the oil. They set up the way to process it. They were doing very well. It's very heavy oil. It takes a very special way to process it to make it worthwhile to sell for gasoline and other things like that. And when the socialists took over Venezuela, they stepped right in and they nationalized it. So those American companies did not get 1 penny for everything that they put into developing an oil, industry down there. Today, it produces only 18% of the oil they could be producing because of the fact they didn't really know how to run it, but they didn't want the Americans to run it. So yes, the American oil companies hopefully will come back, rebuild the oil industry down there, sell the oil to benefit the Venezuelan people and to benefit themselves and the American people.
So why didn't they file a lawsuit against Venezuela? Why didn't they go through the United Nations? Why didn't they go through the rule of law to argue these points? I think it was because these oil companies were exploiting Venezuela, and there were 2 sides of that argument. They both were doing bad. That's what I feel. And people avoid the rule of law when they don't want to be exposed for the illegal things that they're doing. That's my opinion. And I think that's what Trump is doing.
Well, you have entitled to your opinion, but I don't know how they violated the law when this guy was indicted by U.S. courts underneath both the Biden administration and the Trump administration. We had the legal documentation to go in and bring this guy back to the United States of America. And as far as the United Nations goes, that is not an entity that is friendly to the United States of America at all. In fact, maybe we should withdraw from it.
Good. We should. We should. And the UN should move to another country, because it's certainly not the UN that it was supposed to be. It's a completely different United Nations. And I think part of the reason is because of America. Our administration is destroyed. But let's go back to the indictment. He was indicted. One of the things I said he was indicted for was having machine guns. How is that, and how is it a violation of American law to have machine guns in Venezuela? I think that's a ridiculous. They're just trumping up, and I use that word Trump intentionally. They're just trumping up these charges just to make Trump's action look good. I really believe that what Trump has done is illegal. He should be impeached. They should go after him. This guy needs to be taken out of office because he is destructive to this country. And if you live by the rule of law, I would say, okay, let's go after Maduro through the rule of law. But if you're not going to follow the rule of law, then just saying he's a bad guy is not good enough to do it. That I don't believe. I know you say that he's followed the rule of law, but I don't believe he has. That's my big problem.
What was Maduro indicted for? Do you have a list of the indictments?
He was indicted for trafficking fentanyl into the United States. That was the big one. And that he was
it's cocaine. It wasn't fentanyl.
Well, now they say
cocaine.
No, right. That's now what they say. Now they say it's cocaine.
Well, but he originally made a mistake. Listen, it's still drugs. It's still narcotics. It's still crippling the American people.
Doesn't that worry you that they made a mistake about what he's doing, fentanyl or cocaine? And I'm not mocking you, Bill, because I understand what's going on in this country. I respect your principle about what is being done in Venezuela. Yeah, that guy is a bad guy. Yes, we should take him out. Yes, I don't know. Everybody says that his election was illegal, but I don't know that. There are people that say it was. There are people that say it wasn't. This should go to a court of law. This should go through the rule of law. And what bothers me is that Venezuela is part of this new Trumponian process where we don't have to do the rule of law. Make America great again is the rule of law. And whatever Trump says is the rule of law. That's what I think is happening. That's what I believe is happening in this country. And that's what scares me the most.
Well, I think that what Trump did was correct. I think that we will find out if it is beneficial to the United States of America, to the Venezuelan people, and to the world in the future. We really don't know what is going to happen. I mean, if Marco Rubio has to go down there and run Venezuela, then I don't think it's been a success. The Venezuelan people have to run the country, but we have to find people who are interested in running it as a true democracy in hope that they feel the United States is their best ally to keep a democratic republic going in Venezuela.
And are we going to stop at Venezuela, do you think, or are we going to move on to other countries? Or is it just going to be based on other factors that I believe are the reasons?
Well, I think that because of the great success that our military and our law enforcement had with this particular apprehension of a criminal in Venezuela, it may encourage the Trump administration to go after some bad actors in Central and South America against the United States. I will certainly not support that unless he gets the okay from the United States House of Representatives, from the United States Senate. That will have to be done. But I really don't want to see us going after Cuba. Bad country, has been for a long time, but they're never going to do anything to us. Okay. Colombia at one time was one of our closest allies. I don't really know what happened down there. Maybe we can get them to be a close ally once again. Mexico, you know as well as I do, we're not going to do anything militarily against Mexico. They're right on our border. It would be far too disruptive. It's a very big country. They don't have anywhere near the military that we have, but we don't want it right on our, It's just not going to happen. I mean, like going against Canada. We're not going to go against Canada, even though they have turned down the great opportunity to become the 51st state.
Yeah, see, I think you're making a good argument that this is all about convenience. It was convenient to go after Venezuela. Why don't we arrest the president of Mexico, Scheinbaum? Almost 70% of all the drugs that come into this country come in from Mexico. And we have Americans that die every day because of these drugs coming from Mexico. Mexico's not doing anything about it. They say they are, but they're not. And they've been doing this forever on top of the illegal immigrants who come into this country. But we won't do that because Mexico is a big country. I think we went after Venezuela because it was an easy target. And I think we went after Venezuela because Trump felt I need to show that I'm a leader and that I'm a good person and I'm bringing peace in my time. And in fact, all we've seen is war, not peace from Trump during the year that he's been in office. I think it'll be a year this week or next week that he was sworn in. I'm really concerned, Bill, because I really think that our anger with Maduro, I believe that's justified, is being used to trump the rule of law, which is being pushed aside when it's convenient for the administration. That concerns me more than anything.
Well, it seems to me that the courts in America in the last couple of months have really come out against a number of things that Trump has done locally. So I don't see any reason that they're going to not come out against things if he does them internationally that affects the United States of America. I think our republic really is pretty good as far as the judicial system goes. I hope and pray that there are some Republicans who will stand up to him on the domestic scene. But as far as this move, I think that anyone opposed to it might have good justifiable reasons for being opposed to it. But I think to a certain extent, it's a bunch of sour grapes. He was a bad guy. He wasn't helping our country. He wasn't helping his people. They are better off without him. Now, what's going to follow, I don't know. I don't want to see us have to put troops on the ground in Venezuela to keep the peace, to keep the law, because it hasn't worked out in the future. In the past, excuse me. And it certainly has not worked out in Central and South America. Back in the 20s, in the early 30s, we intervened on numerous occasions down there for regime change. We got it, but the people who wound up getting into power were even worse. I'll tell you, a country that we should have went after maybe first down there was El Salvador. Okay, yeah. It's being run by a communist.
Right.
You know, all these years, I was in Congress when he was fighting with the Contras, okay, when he called himself a Sandinista, okay, and the Catholic Church was a very big supporter of his because he was going to take care of the poor people. Well, after years and years, he finally got into power, but there's more poor people in El Salvador today than there were when he got into power. Now, I know I digress there, but I'm just saying that may have been a target that would have been better for him to go after. He may have had more support, okay, from the American people for that than he's going to have on this Venezuela deal. But one other thing I want to say, I have listened to 4 different Democratic leaders, okay, being asked questions about this situation with Venezuela. None of them really said anything pro or con about what happened there. They immediately went into starting talking about the economy and domestic things. You know, they did not attack him on what he did in Venezuela. They attacked him on a lot of domestic issues. I think that's a mistake. You know, if you want to be a leader, take it on. Tell the people like you have why you disagree with what he has done. We can disagree as long as we're not disagreeable, and we're not disagreeable. I have my point of view. You have your point of view. But the Democrats, I think, are missing an opportunity by not saying what they really think is wrong with what he has done in Venezuela. They have an opportunity to win some points with people.
And by the way, we're going to take a break, but I just wanted you to know before we took a break that I was doing some research on past stories that I wrote. There's an interview I did with you back in 1986, I believe, when I was at the Sun-Times, talking about something that you were doing with Ronald Reagan that had to do with the Chicago area. It was very extensive. I got to pull that. I got to send it to you because you're going to find that fascinating. Why don't we take a break, Bill? And then when we come back, we can continue this discussion maybe I'd really like to get into a little more about the what constitutes a requirement for notifying Congress about things that are done outside of the United States. I think that needs to be discussed a little bit more. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I think that's correct. And there's two things here, right? One is to notify Congress, notify the leaders of Congress what is going to happen. Another one is to get the approval of Congress to continue whatever was started, to continue it. So I just bring it up.
All right, let's take a break. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back right after these messages.
Tired of the complexities of immigration? Haunted by the threat of deportation? Struggling to reunite with your family? Have you ever dreamed of living and working legally in America but don't know where to start? L. Sharnoby and Associates Law Firm, a leader in immigration and naturalization law, offers you legal support across the United States. We specialize in asylum, deportation defense, green cards and citizenship, family reunification, all types of immigration visas. Don't wait any longer. Contact us today and let our expertise lead you toward a secure and stable future. To schedule a consultation, call us at 313-581-9666. That's 313-581-9666.
A car accident can change your life in an instant. As a result of a car accident, you may become unemployed. As a result of a car accident, you may need a lot of medical treatment. People think that insurance companies are on their side. Why? Because they're giving them one or two benefits. Are they giving them all the benefits they deserve? How would one know unless you consult with an attorney? Call the law offices of Jumana Kiruz at 248-557-3645. 248-557-3645.
All right, welcome back to Two Guys on Politics. I'm Ray Hanania with my co-host Bill Lipinski, and we're talking about the president's action against Venezuela. We have different ways in which we want to define that word action. I think it's an invasion. Bill doesn't. What's your description of what we did in Venezuela again, Bill?
There was a criminal acting as president of Venezuela, a criminal that has been indicted in an American court. We went in to grab him, bring him back to the United States, have him stand trial. An invasion is when people go into a country, occupy that country. We haven't done that. We do not have one single American naval personnel, Marine, Army, Air Force person on the ground in Venezuela at the present time. We got our man. We brought him back to this country. We are hoping that the vice president, who will become president now, will do things that are good for the Venezuelan people and not cooperate with the Russians, the Chinese, and any other adversaries of the United States of America. That's my position. That's the way I look at it.
And I view it as a illegal act where we actually did send the military. We did put boots on the ground, at least 200 American soldiers. That's if we believe what Trump says. I don't believe that, or the Secretary of War, what they say. I think they're all about propaganda and making themselves look good. We did go in. We did use the basis of an indictment that was, handed down in the U.S. courts, not in international courts, because as you know, the United States of America doesn't respect or recognize any international courts except those that are here in the U.S. We
Rightfully
don't,
so.
rightfully so. So it's not about the rule of law. We can at least be honest about that it's not about the rule of law. It's only about the rule of law when we feel it benefits us. But we sent in a military, we sent in planes, we sent in ships, we sent in soldiers. We didn't have an indictment in our hand. We had the claim that I felt was political and no evidence, because I'm going to be interested to see what evidence they present against this guy, Maduro.
You think that they would have indicted him if they didn't have any evidence against him?
Yes.
Yes,
I do. I think Biden. Yes, I think Biden.
You think
did
that Biden would have done that?
Yes.
I find that hard to believe.
Every document that I've researched from top to bottom says that that Venezuela may have friends and may know people that we don't like, from drug dealers to presidents of foreign countries. But they're not sending and putting trafficking drugs into the United States. That's not what they're doing. But that's what we've been told they are doing, and I think that's wrong. I think we have to be precise when we take
you
illegal
don't
action
think we
against
could have
anybody.
gotten an indictment if at least some of that wasn't true? And Ray, there are 8 million people from Venezuela who have left there and come to this country seeking asylum since the socialists took over that country.
I agree. Listen, I do not disagree with you that Maduro is one of the worst leaders they've ever had. I agree with you about that. Do I believe that this woman who was given the Nobel Peace Prize, which is why I think Trump doesn't want her to come back and take over Venezuela, to me, which is a sign that this is about Trump, not about what's right. I don't know if she's the better person. There was a guy who actually ran for president who lost and he should be the guy that we should be turning to, but we haven't done that. So I'm really suspect about all this. I'm suspect about all the alleged evidence. They're going to manufacture and fabricate all the evidence they want. And it comes down to confidence in my government. Donald Trump was a convicted felon in 2024. He was convicted of 34 felonies. Now, we can go through them all, or we don't have to. This guy became the president of the United States, and because of the election, they pushed aside those convictions and said he doesn't have to serve. I think deep down, we have allowed a criminal to take over the White House, and he is violating the law to do some good things and many bad things. And I think taking out Maduro was a good thing. I just don't like the way they did it. I think it makes us look bad, and it's a slap against the U.S. Constitution and the rule of law.
Oh, I disagree with you. But let's get back to what we talked about a little bit
earlier. Congress.
Briefly. Yeah. Yes. I believe that the 4 top people in Congress should have been notified what was going to happen in Venezuela. The Democratic leader of the Senate, the Republican leader of the Senate, and the Speaker of the House, and the minority leader of the Democratic Party. Those 4 people should definitely have been informed. Trump talked about leaks and you can't trust Congress. Well, listen, those are 4 leaders who you should be able to trust. I cannot believe that you couldn't trust those 4 people. Those 4 people should have been told what was going to happen. Now, as far as going any further, getting permission from the Congress of the United States to do anything down there, unless something else goes on as far as us putting troops on the ground or planning on putting troops on the ground, I don't think it was necessary to do that underneath these circumstances. Now, the Trump administration will argue that this was a police action. The military was simply there to back up the police. Okay, you can believe that or not believe that. Well, I believe that if you're going to go after this guy, because he's been indicted, that is a police action. But the only way you're going to make sure you get him is by having the U.S. military back it up. What I would like to know is what kind of casualties were suffered by the people in Venezuela or the Venezuelan military or the Cuban bodyguards who actually were Maduro's bodyguards. He didn't trust his own people to be his bodyguards. He had Cubans doing it for him. I have not seen any report on casualties whatsoever, other than I have to say, in all honesty, in your column, which I think is an excellent column from your point of view in regards to the situation, you mentioned a number of Venezuelans who were killed. Now, I don't know where you got that information from. I don't doubt that it's true, but I'd like to know where you got it from because I have not been able to find it.
The vice president of Venezuela said that civilians were killed, members of the administration were killed, and some of their soldiers who were defending wherever Maduro lived were also killed. And you're right, we don't have that information. That's another thing that really bothers me. We're not getting information. Listen, I want to go back to this thing about that this was a police action. What Vladimir Putin said when he invaded Ukraine, he said it was a police action, that there were a criminal enterprise in Kiev, and that Zelensky was a criminal, that he was a Nazi. That's what he called him. He said he was a Nazi. And I said, that's ridiculous. You can't prove any of that, but he did it anyway. And fortunately, the Ukrainians came back, and this 3-day war in Ukraine has now turned into, how many years has it been? 2 years, I think. I can't even keep tab. 3 years.
It's 3 years.
It's 3 years. It's been going on forever. This war that I believe I blame on Biden, and I also blame on Trump. But I'm just saying that we can't look at one person and say that he's a criminal, and then turn around and look at another person and say he's not a criminal. It just doesn't make sense to me. We should apply the rule of law. That's what makes America great. Our Constitution says there's certain things we need to do. None of those 4 leaders in Congress were informed about what the president was going to do, and they justified that by saying this is a police action. You're using the military. You're using the might of the military to enter another country. I don't view that as a police action. I view that as a military, I don't know if we want to call it an invasion, an attack, a kidnapping. We kidnapped the guy. Now they're saying, well, we captured him, but I don't believe that's even accurate. We kidnapped this guy.
We were the posse that went after the bad outlaw, and we got him.
Without a badge.
We're bringing him back to Dodge City, to convict him.
Without a doubt. You and I have watched many cowboy movies, Western movies, where they did that without a badge, and they just did whatever they want to do. I would hate to see that happen, Bill. Now,
I don't want to see it happen either.
But in my opinion, that's what's happening.
Well,
and I'm worried about it. But what if they don't? Let me ask you a question. So let's just go back to Congress.
Okay.
So you felt that there was no need to notify them?
No.
I should have notified them.
The 4 leaders of Congress
should have
been notified. Very definitely. I think that was a mistake. I think they could have gotten the support of the entire not the entire Democratic Party, but a lot of members of the Democratic Party if they had done something like that. Instead, every Democrat I've heard talk has not talked about against the invasion or the police action, whatever you want to call it, but they've complained about the economy and other things over here domestically. I don't think they would have done that if their leadership in Congress had been, informed. Now, AOC, she'd complain about it no matter what. Your very good friend who used to be a Republican, her last day is tomorrow in Congress. What's her name? Marjorie
Taylor Greene, who yes. I hope runs for president of the United States. I think she's smart.
Well, she might be smart, but she's an isolationist, a total isolationist. And
America first. She's America first.
I am opposed to the United States withdrawing to Fortress America, okay? I believe that we need to be involved around the world for the good of mankind. And no government, no country has ever done as much for mankind as the United States of America.
I agree. And I wouldn't say in the last 10 years that's true, but I would say prior to the last 10 years, that's very true. But America first means focusing on what's most important to America before focusing on what's most important to other people. That's why I like Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she is an America first American. And that doesn't mean that she's an isolationist. She's not saying isolate us. She's going to make America first. Address healthcare. These are all the things the Democrats were talking about that Trump isn't doing.
She is an isolationist.
I disagree with you on that.
That's a legitimate position to have.
No, I know.
I think it's the wrong position to have. But let us, Trump. I'm not telling you that Trump is Abraham Lincoln or George Washington or Franklin Roosevelt or Ronald Reagan. Okay.
Right.
But I'm telling you that I feel in regards to this particular act, he was correct. Let's go on, talk about something.
Let's just go back to those 4 members of Congress.
Sure.
Was it legal? Was it legally required to notify them, you think?
No.
As a policing action, you're saying it's a policing action. They didn't have to tell anybody anything.
Correct. And that's what they did.
But if somebody argues that it's not a policing action, they would have been required to notify the Congress.
Absolutely.
when you send, and I guess this is the point where a lot of people in the audience, and maybe I don't understand, if you use the military to go in and do something, it doesn't seem, it seems like it's a shell game to say that it's a policing action when it's the military that goes in with their, I would see it as an invasion. And if I were Venezuelan, I would see the U.S. military coming in, invading us, because Putin could have said this is a policing action, not a military action. That's what bothers me. That we're arguing about how it's being defined.
But the Russians have stayed there and continued to fight. We're already gone. We went in. We were on the ground for 2.5 hours.
Are we? Well, see, that's the point that I'm not sure. Are we really gone?
Even that vice president of Venezuela, who's now allegedly the #1 officer in the country,
right,
says that we're not there.
And what if she doesn't do what we want her to do?
Well, then she's not going to be there.
So what are we going to do? Another policing action? Are we going to indict her? Or are we just going to go in and say, hey, why do we need to indict her? We're just going to take her out too.
She ran with Maduro. 50 countries around the world say that he was not really elected. So he stole the election. So she's just as illegal as him.
Guilt by association.
To try to keep some kind of continuity in that country to protect the citizens of that country. Now, if she's not going to do the right thing,
do we have to keep some continuity? Why is it us to keep some continuity to do that? We did have an international agency that does that, the United Nations. Why don't we go to the UN and try to do that?
You want to have the UN go down there and do something?
I think it would have been more legitimate than us, even though they would have been as less effective. All we did was grab Maduro. Has that changed anything between Venezuela and the United States? You just made my
case. That's all we did. We went down there and got this criminal. Yeah, we're gone. Now we're going to give the Venezuelans another opportunity to run their country. If they choose not to do so, well, then we will probably have to take some further action.
And do you think that Americans should be confident that President Trump is doing the right thing when it comes to enforcing international law in all these countries? Or is this about, because you watched his press conference when he announced this, he spent 60, 70% of the time talking about the oil companies. And I kept getting the sense that this is really about his ability to take over the oil. We don't know what he's going to do with the oil. Doesn't he have to go to Congress and say, hey, this is what I'd like to do? Or is he just going to impose a new policy and say, hey, what do I need the Congress for? I'll just say that I want our oil companies. I'll meet with the oil companies. I'll tell them what we need to do. And I want you, by the way, to hire my son-in-law and put him in a position to oversee this new oil. He has opened the door to do things that cannot be stopped because he didn't follow the right process of the rule of law. The
United States can stop him from doing any of those things or all of those things if they have the backbone to do so.
Right.
Now, I cannot speak for all of them, but certainly there should be enough Republicans who will stand up and say, you can't do this, you can't do that. He says the oil is going to be used to benefit the Venezuelan people, to pay back the American oil companies who had their investment taken away from them by the socialists, and to benefit the Americans. Now, as far as benefiting the Americans, we have more oil here, frankly, than we may ever be able to use. If we could drill for all of it, if the environmentalists would let us drill for all of it, we would be totally, completely independent as far as oil goes, and we could sell it to many countries around the world. Okay, I don't understand what the big emphasis is on the oil. That oil is the poorest oil you can find.
I agree. I agree with you.
Okay, it needs special refining. It's very expensive. The only time you can sell a lot of that oil is when the prices are really high. Otherwise, it's a problem. He should have not talked about that. To me, he should have talked about the sins of Noriega. Excuse me. That was a guy in Panama.
But Noriega is a parallel to Maduro. Right, but you're right. The sins of Maduro.
But he spent far too much time talking about the oil and talking about the great American military. Yeah. Okay, how fantastic we are. Well, I think everybody knows how fantastic the American military is. I don't think we have to emphasize that. Okay, and we're better off not emphasizing it because if people don't know exactly how good we are, they may even think we're better than we are, which is advantageous to us. So I thought his press conference was very poor, but once again, his ego got in the way of what could have been very advantageous for him.
And I just
and now
like
you
it
managed to slide me over and talk about Trump in the trials of Trump in.
Well, listen, I think what bothers me in a general way too is when people stand up and they put the military in front of them, whatever they do, and say, "Oh, we did a good thing." And by the way, God bless the military. The military is great. We want to protect the military. And I'm thinking, all right, that's great. We all love the military. Why do people, not you, but why do these politicians? Everybody said that as like a defense of what we're doing. Thank God we protected our military. And I'm thinking, no, Mr. President, you never served in the military. You're the least concerned about the military. And I think that means something. You served in the military, Bill, I served in the military. There's so many people that served in the military. I want to go back to the Democrats. I think they're horrible. They've done a terrible job of leading this country. I think it'll be an accidental election next November when the Democrats take over the House, because I believe in the long term, most American voters are not going to be happy with what Trump has done because of the economy. I believe it's the economy that's going to drive that election, and he will lose power. And I wonder that he is going to make a scramble between now and next November to do everything he believes he needs to do to remain in power and to also do what he wants to do. I think if the Democrats take over, they might impeach him. And if they take over enough seats in the Senate, I don't know if they can, they could convict him and take him out of office. And I think half of America wants to see that happen. I certainly don't believe he should be the president of the United States. And I'm embarrassed by what he's doing personally. Again, and he could do embarrassing things against the worst people. It doesn't matter to me. If you don't follow the rule of law, then you are not a good person. He's not a good person in my book.
Well, I feel he followed the rule of law in this circumstance. Now, many of the other things that you just said about him, I have no quarrel with whatsoever. I believe the Democrats will capture the House of Representatives in the next election, which I think will be wonderful. Because as I have said on numerous occasions, I was in Washington as a member of the United States House of Representatives when the Republicans controlled everything and when the Democrats controlled everything. It was bad, bad, bad for the American people. This country succeeds best when we have divided government. And I hope to get back to divided government as quickly as possible.
Yes. And I understand when you say divided government, you mean two sides that make each other accountable, even three sides. Now I'm wondering if two sides is even enough. What happens now? Let's just say, okay, this has happened. We've done this. What if Venezuela continues to do what it's been doing and doesn't change? Do we go back in and police it again or invade it? What do we do? Do we now turn to the American people because we created this scenario? We have to do something. It'll be easier for Trump now to defend what he's done and go back and invade and put troops on the ground. I don't see how, if the people of Venezuela don't stand up for what we're doing, that we can win this battle to change Venezuela. I would love to see Venezuela change because I grew up there as a kid. My mother's family lived there. So every summer as a kid, I would go there for 10 years. So I remember when Venezuela was a great country and very democratic. But that certainly has changed under Maduro, who I believe is a tyrant. And I believe he should have been taken out. It's just how he was taken out that bothers me.
You know, Ray, you should have been our Secretary of State. You have connections to the Middle East, Bethlehem. You have connections to Argentina.
It's more that I'm more objective than our Secretary of State. I think Marco Rubio has an agenda. I think that he's using this. He's going to turn this into a platform to police Cuba. My version is going to be to invade Cuba. I think that's where we're headed.
I saw Marco Rubio on NBC. Yes. Who's hostile to the Trump administration. I also saw him on CBS which some people used to call the communist broadcasting system, but now it's starting to move to the right. But the person that was on it that was interviewing him, both of them were hostile towards the
I disagree with you. I think NBC was very respectful.
I don't think so.
She confronted him with some questions, but she did it in a very respectful way.
No, I disagree
on Meet the Press.
Totally and completely. I thought he did a magnificent job.
He did.
The position of the Trump administration.
Yes, I think he lied through his teeth very well. He did a great job of exaggerating and spinning the story. And he is a good speaker. He is. He went through, he knew what he was saying. He had all the talking points down. But the more I listen to them, the more I worry. I believe that we're headed toward Cuba. And if we get to Cuba, if that turns out to be the truth, I think you and I are both in trouble in this country. And listen,
why would you and I be in trouble in this country if they took Cuba?
Because I think that they'll take over Washington and prevent an election. I think if they can get away with this strong arm policy of whipping everybody up and saying, this is about, defending America. This is Americanism. We can't have an election. I'm not going to talk to the Democrats. Those Democrats are traitors, because that's what I hear people saying. The Democrats are traitors because they feel what Trump did in Venezuela is wrong. I think Trump is fueling this the same way he did the riots that took place on January 6th. I believe that what he's doing today is the same exact thing. He's using some very cute and coy and language to make it sound like he cares about something, but it's really he cares about himself. And Ray, I don't believe he cares about America.
I think he cares about America, but I think that the big problem now, I stated at the beginning of our show today that I supported what he has done in Venezuela.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But now the problem really comes. What happens after this? That is the problem. Do we wind up putting troops on the ground? Do we wind up militarily running this country? What happens? That's going to be very interesting, because I don't think that we have the legal authority to do something like that unless we get no matter whose authority I don't think we have the moral right to go in and run that country. That country should be run by the people who live in that country. Hopefully they will be friendly towards us, but if they're not, should be a free world. We sacrificed an awful lot to make it a free world. If they want to be against us, we'll just have to tolerate them. But we cannot tolerate another criminal running that country like was running that country.
All right. It's only been 2 days since our soldiers went in and in a policing action or an invasion, depending on what your politics are, they captured or they kidnapped Maduro, again, depending on what your politics are. But it's only been 2 days. We'll be back next week, and we can talk about what's happened since. It'll be interesting to see what follows over the next week. I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski, and this has been Two Guys on Politics, and I'm happy to say that Ray and I are still good friends.
We will always be good friends. All right, everybody. Thank you, and bye-bye.
من قلب بافاريا، حيث المذاق يبدأ من النبع. بافاريا سمالت، مشروب شعير بافاريا الخالي من الكحول، الآن بشكل جديد ومنعش ونفس الطعم الرائع. بافاريا سمالت، مشروب شعير غازي خال من الكحول، مصنع من أفضل المكونات الطبيعية والمياه المعدنية العذبة، مع لمسة نبات الجنجل التي تعطيه نكهته المميزة. ولمحبي نكهات الفواكه، تذوقوا بافاريا سمالت بنكهة التفاح الطبيعي وحلاوته المتوازنة. بافاريا سمالت، الانتعاش على أصوله.
Lead is invisible, but the dangers are real. Michigan's blood lead testing law aims to help identify exposure to lead in young children. All children should be tested for lead at ages 1 and 2. If they've never been tested, they should get a test by age 6. To help your child stay healthy, talk to their doctor about a blood lead test or visit michigan.gov/myleadsafe. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.